Okay, so from where we left off, we are kind of approaching the beginnings of the American Revolution. So, still British, really big meaty heads. They continue to annoy all the colonists with all the acts and policies that they put out, but now they cross the line with the intolerable acts. These go too far because they personally take away the rights and freedoms of all the colonists in the 13 colonies. So these intolerable acts were meant by the British to tighten that rein, to push their thumb down, and to ruin the colonists' lives, to show the colonists that, hey, the British are in power and they are in control, but the colonists hate them. They hate them because they take away their rights and freedoms. So, after the intolerable acts, all the colonies offered Massachusetts all the help they could. They sent them money, they sent them supplies, food, whatever the case would be, because Massachusetts was kind of center of all this action. So in September of 1774, delegates from all over the 13 colonies, except for Georgia, all met in Philadelphia for the First Continental Congress. All right, and so at this meeting, they voted to ban trade with Britain until the intolerable acts were repealed or taken back by Britain and gotten rid of altogether. So even though Georgia didn't go to the First Continental Congress, they still agreed that no matter what the Continental Congress voted on, they would follow. So they did also ban the trade as well. And they also, everybody at the Continental Congress also agreed to start training all of the Minutemen in all the colonies. So these are guys that were ready to fight at a minute's notice. Hence the Minutemen. They were ready to fight whenever it was called upon. So the First Continental Congress, it was a very crucial, key, important step in American history. And colonists were not quite ready to declare independence, but they felt like it was important to make sure they upheld the rights of all the colonists. It was important for them to be able to make laws their own, pay their own tax, all that stuff. They were tired of listening to the British king. So the First Continental Congress planted the seeds for any future government that came down the pipe. It was a very huge step for all the colonists together. So now while all that politics are going on, all the political stuff, all the minutiae is going on in the background, the Revolutionary War is beginning to start. General Gage, who's a British commander, has been tasked with arresting Samuel Adams and John Hancock and also destroying some of the colonial supplies. So he says, we're going to go out, we're going to arrest those two, we're going to destroy them, we'll come back, no big deal. Well, thanks to Paul Revere, the colonists had set up a way to inform all the colonists that the British were coming. So they had a series of signals set up, and Paul Revere rode through the night informing colonists, hey, the British are coming, the British are coming, the British are coming. And this became known as the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere, which you might have read in language arts class. And so he let everybody know, hey, the British are coming to arrest those two people and destroy these supplies. We need to do something. So by the next morning, when the British soldiers had arrived at Lexington and Concord, Lexington is where they were doing the arresting, Concord is where they were going to destroy the supplies, they were met by an American soldiers, the Minutemen, and who we talked about earlier, and there were over 4,000 colonial soldiers all carrying muskets ready to fight. Obviously, this took the British off guard because General Gage thought, hey, we're arresting a couple guys, we're destroying supplies, and now we got to fight. What in the world's going on? So the Minutemen, they didn't hold anything back. They lined up those muskets and they just peppered down the British. And the British were forced to retreat back into Boston. Even though the British even got extra people to come help them, they still were so caught off guard and unprepared to fight that they had to take leave in Boston. So, this interaction here at Lexington and Concord, these two places, became known as the first battle of the American Revolution, the Battle of Lexington and Concord. Alright, so because the war had started, we talk about Patriots and Loyalists, and now colonists had to officially decide whose side are they on. Are they on the colonist side? They are breaking away, they want to fight and be their own independent country? Or are you on the British side? Are you a loyalist and saying, hey, we need to reserve our respect for the King of England and do what he says because he is our king? So they pitted against each other, Patriots and Loyalists. Now, we get to the part of declaring independence, which comes into the Second Continental Congress. So after the colonial army, which had now banded together and started fighting some of the British, decided to attack Fort Ticonderoga, which was a British military fort. And on that same day, the Second Continental Congress decided to officially meet. And it basically served as America's government for the entire rest of the war. So the Second Continental Congress was very important as it did serve as the colonial body of government during the entire war. So the Second Continental Congress had two big things that came out of it. One, they officially created the Continental Army, and that was led by none other than George Washington. All right. The second most important thing was that on July 4th, the colonies decided to officially adopt the Declaration of Independence written by Thomas Jefferson and proclaim their independence from Great Britain. So this launched us, if we weren't already there, as we talked about earlier, this launched us into the American Revolution. We wanted to be free, we wanted to be independent, and it was time to fight to stand up and become our own country.